So a lot of this video is just going to be me rambling about this head unit, but if you were looking to buy one of these 8.8-inch Chinese head units, hopefully there's some useful information. I'd say you should absolutely watch this if you are trying to install one of these. Otherwise, you're probably going to be pretty frustrated like I was. But if you have any questions, feel free to leave those in the comments. I'll try my best to answer those, but I'm not always super responsive. But yeah, if you're trying to install one of these yourself, I've done it and I am glad to help. So hope you can follow this video. There's a couple important things though that I will go over again, but I just want the too long didn't read to be out there. So first, if you buy one of these, you're going to need an Airbag light harness. It's about $8. That will be linked in the description. Also, here's a picture of what that looks like in case that link doesn't work anymore. Also, I really recommend that you take the unit apart. It's just a couple Phillips screws, and then you'll see there's some silicon over connectors that will look kind of like this. And what you're going to want to do is switch the ones for the Wi-Fi and the 4G antenna, unless if you want the 4G. But I feel like most of us aren't going to be doing that. So I'd switch those. That's really going to improve your CarPlay, your wireless CarPlay signal. Because before I did that, it was cutting in and out a lot with the little tiny adhesive Wi-Fi thing I got. Now, one mistake I made is I just adhered that right to the back of the unit. Try adhering it somewhere not there. It's really tight back there though. That's why you really should just switch it with the 4G antenna. Also, you're going to need to purchase you'll have to modify one of these with a resistor. That's kind of difficult. These are $10. You're gonna need to buy one of these. It may come with, but mine did not. And if you don't have this, you're not gonna get any audio out of your screen. And that's gonna suck if you have to wait for one of these to come in. If you have anything that acts like this, like the super cheap Bluetooth adapters, those technically should work, even if they're unplugged. And all you have to do is you can just cut this cable right here. Like on this, what I'm probably gonna end up doing is just cutting it, and it'll just be a little nugget that you keep plugged into the MMI. So that's something that you're going to need to buy. And then the last thing is, it's not that pretty. As you can see, I didn't install it perfectly. It's not very easy to install. So if you don't have experience installing radios, I don't know if I'd recommend this. But you can probably do it. The thing is, there's no instructions. And I do have a video of me installing the whole thing, but it's kind of a mess. But I don't know, there's no other videos out there, so maybe I'll put that out there. But I don't think it's gonna be very helpful. Anyways. So this just arrived. It's my 8.8-inch Audi Android screen. So I've installed Android screens before in my friends' cars, but never had one in my own car. Usually I like something OEM, but for this car I decided to go with this bigger screen just because I'm not happy with the size of the Audi Allroad Premium's screen. And let's see, this is everything you get in the box. So this is our humongous wiring harness, some antennas, there should be a GPS, a Wi-Fi, and maybe a cellular one on this device. And it looks like this is our screen in the bottom here. Stuck in there pretty good, which is a good thing. So here's that main unit. And yeah, that looks pretty good. That's really big, at least compared to the factory one. And then this is going to be the bracket here. So depending on if you have a facelift or a pre-facelift, you'll get one of these. Let's see here. So there may be some things missing from this kit that you are going to need. Yeah, I'm not seeing it. So the first thing is, let's see where it is. Going to be this guy. So this is a super important part that is not included in this kit. It's $10, and usually it's called like an airbag harness or something. And basically what this is for is if you look at your Audi A4, there's going to be an airbag sensor light, basically saying if the passenger bag is on or off on certain models. So not every A4 in the world, but at least in the United States, you're going to need to get that cable. And how that works is one end of it goes in here, and the other end is going to go into that factory Audi button, and then you'll just throw the old button into the dash, and then this button will be the functional hazards. So you will lose that passenger airbag light, but I don't think it's a big deal. Oh, this button is definitely not as nice as the factory Audi one, but it should work. So the last thing you may need is an MMI audio jack. I'm not seeing that, so I've heard on some cars you're going to need that, and on others you won't. So I'm going to try it with both in my car, and I'm going to see what I end up needing, but I do recommend spending the extra $10 to order that, especially if you're getting this all from AliExpress, which I think this display I haven't been able to find anywhere else but AliExpress. And this is honestly what I think is the best solution for CarPlay. And I'll show you the other solution that I accidentally ordered that I have here. We can kind of compare the two units. So if you are happy with the factory screen, and this would be especially true for people that have navigation on their car. Mine is a super base model. I don't even have the navigation. Cars without the nav have a smaller MMI screen, and you can tell that from the photos. But if you have the 3G, then you may consider just doing this instead. It tends to be cheaper, and also you retain more the factory functionality. So say if you have a backup camera, it makes even more sense to do this, but I personally don't have a backup camera, and that's going to be part of this install, is getting that camera to work. But this is part that kind of jumps onto the factory radio, and then basically all this is this little computer here, and this you just shove behind the dash, connect it all up to your radio, and from the outside it looks completely stock. But you've got CarPlay, and then this thing has a couple extra bonus features. So there's an HDMI port, which is super cool, so you could hook up whatever you want to this, and works on a ton of models. There's also support for an RCA backup camera, front and rear camera. So that's another cool thing. So if your car, like mine, doesn't have a backup camera, then you could wire that up using this method as well. And this is the one piece that you may need to get also, which is an MMI to AUX adapter. I've heard that sometimes these Android units don't work well. Obviously this one probably doesn't work well with this either, and that's why it's included. So I'm gonna put this on our kit over here in case we need it. I'll try to do the install without it, but I do have that, which is super handy in case I need it. So I'll put all this back together and we will get to installing this. Also, these radio keys. I think if you have the Audi multimedia, you're going to need these. If you have a symphony or a concert, you can forget about these. I bought them just in case. They were $1, but I do not need these. And then one last thing before we get to that, I just want to mention the third way of adding CarPlay to the Audi, and that's this bigger screen here. But as you'll see, it sits outside of the dash, and I think one of the beautiful parts of that B8 interior is that the screen's integrated in the dashboard. Personally, I don't like how this looks. However, it is going to be way more functional because that touchscreen is going to be closer to you, and it is going to be a bigger screen. And if you personally like how this looks, then I totally go for it. I think it does look better in like the Q5s, which all of this stuff is, it applies to the Q5 as well. It's all very similar. I'm actually not sure about this unit. I know though for like the factory CarPlay, they definitely have that, but they may have this for the Q5 as well. But I just wanted to point this out. If you're looking for what you want to do to your Audi, just keep this in mind if that's something that you'd like. So like, especially if like my car, I don't have the MMI dial down here, which is something I'd really like to have, because now the screen and the dial are going to be super far away. So if you have this dial down here, totally go for this. If you don't, you may want to consider having this bigger and closer screen for using it. But personally, I don't think it's going to be a big problem. So that's why I decided to go with a better looking unit. So I've already started the disassembly here, but this is the first piece and the most straightforward piece to get out. I just stuck a pry tool in right on this side and pried it out. There's no screws that hold this in, it just comes and slides out, and then you push it right back in. And for this, we shouldn't have to unplug it, hopefully. We'll see if I can just leave it sitting here. And that's going to expose these 8mm bolts. That is what holds in the concert system. And then on the top here, I did start to pry these vents off. Now this is gonna be a little bit more complicated. Over here you can see the plastic trim is coming off, not the vents. So that's not what we want. So if you're just getting this little piece of plastic to come out, that's not what you want. It's okay to pull on it a little bit. If you break it, it's not the end of the world. There's a lot of parts for these cars, but hopefully you don't. I did find that pulling from this side a little bit easier. And I'm not sure if I can just get this whole thing to pop out. Another thing I did notice is you're gonna see it's gonna get stuck up on this piece here. And it may be smart to pull this off first, because I know we're gonna have to take all of this out eventually. But yeah, as you can see, it's out from over here, but then it's kind of stuck over in this side. And I really don't want to force anything, just because I can take my time and we can figure this out. So yeah, I think I'm gonna take this top trim piece off first. And then one thing from earlier, this is the button, or I guess light, that's more important. So this, we're gonna have to pull out of this screen, or I guess trim, and then this is just gonna hide behind the dashboard with that new button in place. So you're gonna lose the airbag off light functionality, but hopefully you don't care about that. And this is the tool I've been using. It's just an iFixit spudger. It's not a real trim tool. Harbor Freight sells a nice kit for about 10 bucks. If you have a Harbor Freight around you, that's probably what I'd recommend, but this works just fine. Just don't use a metal tool. A metal tool will really mess your car up. If you really want to use a metal tool, you can, and you may be able to get away with it, but I really recommend using something plastic, because if you slip up, you could really scratch the crap out of something, and I know that would really bother me, so use a plastic tool. So I just found out if I take this tool and I slide it under here, I can kind of get these two to separate. So I'm going to try to pull the vents out while kind of holding this here, but I need two hands to do it. So just like that, I was able to gently walk this out without taking that top trim up. So I just kind of was pulling from here while lifting this up, and it popped out. And then you can see like this needs to get clipped back in. That just clips right back in from if you pull that out when you're pulling. And then this is just probably gonna fall. But looks like a push down, or maybe push down in this direction. There it goes. And then your vents are removed. So that would be a helpful trick if you're just doing the CarPlay module, not the screen. Because if you're just doing that, then you don't need to pull all of that off. So these do come out. It's just a little bit more tricky. And with that, you can see all 4 of our 8mm bolts. So we'll take those bolts out, and this radio will slide right out. And we're back. Little darker outside. But let's get all this stuff pulled out now. So I'm gonna go grab my 8mm. We'll remove this radio, and then we will start working up here, and hopefully we can start installing stuff. I'm hoping I don't need to remove the glove box, but that's probably gonna end up being something I need to do. I'm also hoping that I'm gonna be able to run my RCA cable here up kind of under the steering wheel and up through here. I'm not sure if that's possible. If not, I'll have to figure out how to get the cable on this side. I've got a ton of cable to work with, but then we'll have to go up kind of the glove box way, which I think is how most people do it. But hopefully I can do it this way, because I don't take that glove box out. I don't necessarily need the USB ports, and also having the USB ports in the glove box for me is useless. I'm hoping to just have the wireless CarPlay, but if possible, I'll see if this ashtray here, if there's any way I could run that USB, you know, like maybe through one of these holes here. If this pops out, I'll see. Maybe if I have to modify this a bit, but then being able to hide this away. Right now I need this for my Bluetooth adapter, but I could pull this junk out. And if I could hide the USB down there, that would be excellent, because I already like doing that. And I hate the cables and the clutter, so yeah, we'll see. These are not on here very tight, so I can just use my extension here and get them off. If I had a electric impact, like that one wasn't even on there very tight, I'd have to crack that loose. If I had an impact or something electric, that sure would be nice, but this is all I'm working with right now. And with all 4 of those out, we should just be able to pull this out. And one thing that's going to happen here is our shifter is going to be in the way. So all you got to do for that is put the parking brake on, which I was using this for my bolts. And we'll gotta put it in accessory mode, or start the car, pop it in neutral, and then turn it off. And it's probably, yes, gonna yell at you. If you open the door, it probably will yell at you quite loudly. But then let's see here. We should be able to not disconnect that. Yeah, there we go. And I'm going to use my other hand here and unplug this. I don't want to damage my leather shifter there. All right, I actually got it to sit pretty nice here. So if you've never taken a radio out, this is going to be the most tricky one. This is the quad lock. So from the bottom here, you're going to slide this back. It's a little tricky, but you can kind of see the movement there. So I'm gonna try to get that with both my hands on it. But yeah, this slides back and then the whole connector should pop out. This one I just see is super easy. I shouldn't say super easy, it's not gonna come out now. Well, you can see the locking connector for that one. And then let's see, I'm not sure what this one is. All right, yeah, I've not seen that one before. And then this one's gonna be kind of like that backup camera one. So where that pink tab is, should be the way to get that one out. From the other side here, this guy is gonna clip right there. And then that should pop out. I heard it click. Oh, come on. All right, I'm getting them out. So this one I was wrong about. It's not that pink part. It is actually this little tab here, and right there is where you want to push on it. And then this one was right, just this little guy here, and you gotta pull that kind of hard. This white one I eventually got out, just that obvious mechanism there. And then I'm still working on the quad lock, which is, it's quite in there, that little folding tab. So I'm gonna keep pulling on that and see if I can get it out. Well, that's never fun, but I don't really know where that broke off. I was just pulling it out like this, and it all kind of popped out at once. Yeah, the radio's right here in my lap. It's free. And here's all of our connections. So next, I'm gonna start working on getting this silver trim off. And this is gonna go all the way around your shifter here. So quite a bit has to come off. And I assume it's just gonna be trim tool pulling it all off. I don't think there's any bolts holding this on. This is me from the future, probably with worse audio quality, but this is something that it took me about a month to figure out. A lot of just trying different things. So make sure you follow this step or your audio is gonna be pretty messed up. This connector right here, this is in the factory quad lock, and this you can pop out with a little needle. Pop this blue one out, and that fixes the problem. So I pulled up right here and I heard a click, and keep kind of going around. Just with the easy parts I can do with my hands, so you can see that actually moves quite a bit. I'm not sure if I want to try to shove a trim tool up in there. Let's see here, where's my little blue one? Somewhere in this pile of receipts. So I'm making some progress here. It's kind of hard to record it and do it at the same time, but I'm just kind of pulling with my hand still, not using a trim tool yet. And just pulling along the bottom here. I'm grabbing like this, and like this, and like this over here. And up here, that's a good spot to grab. You just want to be gentle and you don't want to pull too hard, because unlike the other pieces, I feel like this one would probably be a little bit more expensive. Yeah, I'm really not trying to pull too hard. You can see it's kind of folding up, which I don't think that's going to help me. Let's see if I can pop this loose. It's a little bit of a tricky spot. I hope that's how it's supposed to come off. Releasing from the vent there. I'm not sure if that is the right way. I hear some pops, but I'm not seeing any broken tabs, and I'm being pretty gentle here. Yeah, you can see these tabs are coming out just fine like that. I'm going to pull a little bit up here. So right at this point, I did not realize, but this would lead to my vent being broken and needing replacement. So when that silver piece falls off, the whole vent, all those fins will fall out, and they did, and I lost a piece. So now I have to replace my entire vent. I still haven't done that. So if this happens to you, make sure to put that silver ring right back into the vent right after it pops off, and you'll be okay. Okay, looks like all of my tabs are intact. Let's make sure I didn't break anything here. Oh yeah, all this looks great. So, yep, I don't see anything broken on there. Oh, and that really freed it. So it looks like it's just kind of holding up there still. And I can actually, as you can see, put my fingers up in here. Oh yeah, it's just right up there is where it's still kind of holding in. I'm gonna kind of see. So I'm gonna push this more far down and see if I can get it out from here. And actually this, yeah, that's quite a bit of force. A little more than I'd like to use. Wow. Yeah, so something up here, this is probably obviously the trickiest spot. I've got it completely free over here. It's just up there is pretty darn difficult to get. Wow. Oh, be free, be free. All right, I'm gonna pull on this a little bit more, and with both my hands, we'll get back to you once it's out of here. All right, so after a little bit more pulling right after that, I got it out, and I did break a clip there, unfortunately. But actually, this big one here is fine. Is that a broken clip, or is that just how it looks? You know, I may have done a pretty darn good job here. Okay, actually, a lot of this looks great, so I'm not too worried about that. Awesome. There we go. So then this right here, again, that airbag connector. So we'll unplug that if I can. There we go. That comes out super easy. And this piece, this huge piece is free from the car. And I'll just set that right there. And there we go. So we are hopefully ready to begin our install at least. But the glove box, unfortunately, may be a part of this. So I'm going to go inside, grab some stuff, and we'll start disassembling. Actually, we may want to take that screen out. So that looks like a Torx T25. So let me grab that, and we'll pull that screen out. All right, I was incorrect. It's a T20, and they're definitely torqued down to at least 100 foot-pounds. This is not going to work. So I'm going to grab my ratchet, and we will crack those loose. But dang, they are really on there. And keep in mind with those bolts. So this one, you can see, looks like this is the one for the screen, and this is the one for the lower radio, just in case you get them mixed up. All right, and with that, we should be able to just, so easy. And there's our plug there, so that is the same thing that was on the back of the radio. And I'll scratch the crap out of this screen, I don't really care. And with some negotiation, it's out. So, not much. It's literally just a screen. So, there you go. Now, on the new display, we should have a port for this. Because the screen is going to be able to support viewing whatever's on this still. So, you're still going to keep all that factory stuff for, checking your oil level and all that. So, let's take this out and kind of check out what we're going to need to wire up there. So, you can see there's some things. One thing I've noticed is this little antenna. I'm not sure where we're supposed to stick that. So if you remember from the beginning of the video, this is one of the things where I'd stop and take the head unit apart. So you can remove it from the bracket that it's on, which I'll show you soon. And then there's similar Phillips screws on the back, and you'll be able to lift off that bottom cover and basically throw away that Wi-Fi antenna. And then they are labeled on the back. You're going to want to switch the antenna back there that looks like a little Wi-Fi card on a laptop. You're going to switch the Wi-Fi and the 4G, and then you'll just screw that 4G antenna into the back of the head unit where it says 4G LT, but that's actually going to be your Wi-Fi connector, and that's going to work a lot better. At least it did in my case. Figure that out. But first, there are two little Phillips guys right there. I'm going to take those off, and that's going to remove this rear metal bracket from the screen itself. As you can see, these things are super tiny and super important, so I'm going to try to keep them very safe in this little tray, and hopefully we don't lose them. Ended those screws off. It hinges in there. Come on. There we go. Our screen's free. We can take a good look at it. So there's 4G antenna, GPS antenna. So this is one of the 4 screws that you'll want to take off at this point. You don't have to remove the one that's sitting next to it, just the one that's circled. So you'll remove all 4 of those, and that will lift up, and then you'll be able to see those 4 antenna wires, and they are covered in silicone. I found just pulling them off and putting them back on worked fine, so you shouldn't have to worry about the silicone getting in your way. I'm guessing that's going to be a Wi-Fi or Bluetooth antenna that's sticking out there. And you'll see I've got the 6 gig 128, so this is the best one they sell. I didn't want to take any chances. I think it was like $50 more to get the super expensive, or not super expensive, but maxed out one. I don't care about the 128 gigs of storage, but definitely the 6 gigs of RAM. I wanted the most RAM on this guy. So yeah, you can kind of see it's going to look real good up there. So let's fit this bracket, and oh wait, before we do that, let's figure out the wiring actually. Before I close this all up, I want to make sure we got the correct cords that we need before we screw this on. So for the display up there, this big white one's going to be our first one, and then there was a second one. Not too sure which that second one is. Because of this, I'm not sure what this is. This screen does not come with any instructions, so I will be figuring it all out for you guys. Yeah, I'm really not too sure what this is. I want to be able to keep my lights on. I turned the car on, and you'll see right there our airbag light did come on. So keep that in mind if you are doing this and you don't have a scanner, which you really should have a scanner. You really should have an OBD11. It's 50 bucks. And if you own an Audi or a Volkswagen, it's a necessary tool in my opinion. So in this case, that airbag light is no big deal for me. But for some people, I'm not sure if that is going to clear once we hook everything back up. I will see if that clears. But if not, you may want to be careful about starting the car with all of this unplugged, with that one light that I mentioned before. Okay, I figured it out. That black one right there is actually just for the factory MMI cable. So the only thing we need to run up there is going to be that white cable. And also, let's mount the 4G and GPS antenna right now, and also figure out what that little guy is for. Here's our Glon ass antenna. So basically, I'm just going to try to stick it up in the dash. This is metal right here, so maybe, let's see here. This is honestly, like, I'd like it to work, but I'm not going to be even using the GPS or the 4G functionality. The 4G just yet. I really don't think I'm ever going to use the factory maps on this device, but obviously I still want it to function. I'm not sure where the SIM card goes in. Let's take a look for that. Yeah, personally, I don't plan on doing a cell plan just because CarPlay is going to be enough for me. Peeling off the sticky thing there, and I'm just gonna see what happens if I. Oh yeah, so I'm not too sure where I want to stick that. Gonna go. Oh wait, did this? This isn't sticky at all. I pulled the sticker off. Oh man. All right, so I'm gonna go get some stick tape for this. Just want to show the 4G antenna. I just stuck it on this metal. I don't know how that's gonna work. One thing, I just really don't want this shaking around, so I just want that to be in a place where I really know it's gonna be stuck up well. And then honestly, I'll just kind of shovel this cable back into this hole here. And yeah, hopefully this doesn't interfere with any of the venting systems. But I'm honestly just gonna do the same thing for the GPS module, like right there, just stick it on top of this metal. Not sure if that's how they want you to do that, but honestly, I don't really care. I think one thing the GPS may be important for is getting the time right. So if you don't have that, getting a good connection, you may have problems with time and date. I will find out if this is a good mounting location or not. Stick tape acquired. Let's get this thing mounted up. Probably gonna need. Okay, one thing I want to do is take this sticker off. This thing, because I know that's just gonna fall off again. It's getting real messy in this car. Not very satisfied with that, but I will call it good enough. Peel that off. And then again, I'm gonna stick this right there. Ooh, that's not as confident as the other one. Good enough. So right now I'm wondering, how in the world does this cable go from down here to up here? It looks like it should be very easy, but these vents are in the way. And I've shined lights under there, and I see a little bit of light gleaming from this side. So I'm gonna have to get a brighter light in there and kind of figure out the path for getting this guy up there. And also I'm worried that we're gonna have to wire everything up, like the camera, before then. But I'll figure it out and see. So I'm actually thinking this little hole right here, that may be the easiest way. So I'm gonna try to route it up and come out there. We'll see how that goes. So if you see, that little white label there, that's the cable. So I'm having to go around this and just gonna kind of keep on pushing until I can grab it from the top. Oh, there it is. See that? I can grab that right now. Hopefully I don't push it back in. Oh yeah, I'm gonna push it back down there, I think. So that's kind of the game, is just trying to get that guy up. All right, perfect. That was better than I thought. I thought it was going to be super tricky, but that is the routing that I did for that right there. Also, just want to show I did get that quad lock plugged in. That was super easy, just clicked right in. Let's see what else we're dealing with here. Oh, that was a little dumb of me. I kind of sent up, I think, more than I should have, didn't I? Oh no, these are USB cables. Okay, so this is all, oh no, this is all looking great. What's this guy here? It's just another cable up. All right. So actually we should be able to mount the screen, and then we can kind of do a test and make sure everything's working good. One thing I did notice is I was looking down here, the backup camera. Ooh. Yeah, that's probably gonna be a glove box side thing, so I may have to reroute the entire thing. But I really don't want to do that, so I'm gonna see if it's possible, but I'm gonna have to do a little bit more digging. I mean, I thought this was gonna be difficult, and I figured it out in a couple minutes. So hopefully I can figure out that backup camera wiring. All right, well, I've got this plate in here, and at this point, the backup camera wiring and everything, this will have to come out again when I'm ready to do that. But I just want to get everything plugged in and make sure it's working. So I'm not going to screw this in. Let's just get the screen plugged in and get this plugged back into the radio and see what happens. It's coming alive. I don't know if I should be happy or a little concerned because the car is completely off right now. But here it is. It works without even that plugged in. Nice. And I guess it's a touchscreen. Yep. There we go. Well, sweet. So for the RCA cable, I ended up bringing it all the way up here, just tucking it under the trim. And then I was able to pull this back and run the cable up here. And as it sits, it's right up here above the pedals. And then I'm planning, it's pretty dark, but I'm planning to go through this hole right here, and that will make its way into the radio area. So I will try to do that. I'm gonna use a dipstick to feed it through, and we'll see how that goes. So this is the contraption to get the wire through. So it's duct taped onto this dipstick, and that's the hole I'm using right there. It's the climate control underneath, so it's for the climate controls. And I'm gonna keep pulling this through until I get the wire in there. So I got the cable through. Unfortunately, it's not fully intact, so I got it stuck behind the dashboard. I pulled a little too hard, and I kind of saw this coming. However, I should be able to splice this back together, and it should still work, hopefully. Well, otherwise I'm gonna have to run a new cable, which would really suck. So unfortunately, in this part of the video, things get a little spotty, so I'm gonna do some voiceover to kind of help things along. Anyways, at this point, I decided to mount the screen, and in this next clip, I'm gonna talk about cutting the dash with a Dremel or pliers. You do not have to do this. The reason that this isn't sitting flush for me is two things. The first is I didn't have the wiring routed properly, and then the second thing is that little screw, I never got it in. It's gonna be okay. It was really tricky to get both those screws in, so if you can get one and that thing's on there solid and it's gonna line up properly, then that's all you need to do. But this is definitely the most difficult part of this install, is getting this screen aligned, and even right now it's not aligned perfectly, but it's pretty acceptable. So good luck on this part. Another thing I've realized is I got the screen kind of fitted up in here, but I'm having trouble getting that second screw to align. So I think I'm gonna have to cut some of this plastic out. I'm gonna just try to do it with pliers because I don't have a Dremel or anything like that, but if I pull this out, as you can see, there's nothing in the way of it. Maybe these are affecting it, but it really looks like this has to get clipped out, which really sucks. but I'm gonna try to do that and get this to sit flush. And then I'm going to repair the camera. I went out and bought one of these. I'll just cut this up and some butt splices, and it's super easy. You just need this tool to repair those wires, and I'm praying it works. We shall see. So before this step, I forgot to show plugging in the airbag harness. So you're going to want to take that button off of the old bezel, and I kind of shaved it down with some pliers, but you can use a Dremel to make it as slim as possible, and push it back where the GPS and the 4G antenna are. I was able to get it to fit in there. And then make sure that with your airbag harness that the plug side with more than 2 wires is going into the factory button, and the 2 wires is leading to the front of the dash. Now once you have that wired, you are ready to try to put the screen on. So what you're going to want to do, your biggest obstacle here is going to be all those wires in the back. So you're going to want those to be as tucked away as possible, and it's probably going to take you a couple tries. It's probably not going to be very fun to put this on, but you're going to want to make sure that both of those little feet on the bottom are poking into the screen, and then you should be able to push it back, and it's going to be fully attached on the bottom. So if you pull on the bottom, it's not going to move at all, and you just basically need to get one of those top screws in. I was only able to get one in, and then you'll be able to move the screen, and you'll see it's very solid. But yeah, the wires and cables behind, those are your biggest obstacle to getting this to sit flush. And remember that airbag wire, you're going to have to be smart about that, how you're routing it. I believe I routed it below the screen. You cannot route it beside the screen, because if you try to route it on the side, it's not going to sit flush. So it has to be routed below the screen. All right, so I brought all this stuff inside. So it's a little tricky to get this new bezel in. So first, I've already done this, but you're going to need to remove this bezel, and I will show you what you need to know. This is also going to fall off. This is the factory one here. And when I took this bezel off, this just kind of came off. So you can glue it in, or you can throw it back in. And then I'll flip this over. So let me take this out, or actually I'll just keep it in here. But right here, there's some plastic rivets. There's a plastic rivet here. There's going to be a plastic rivet. It's going to be right here. This one right here. That one you'll have to break off. And then there's one here. And then after you break those off, this just kind of rests in here. And then along this border, it's glued along the edge there. So what I ended up doing is I just took a flathead screwdriver up in this corner, and I started prying around, and it ended up coming out. Just be gentle with it. It was a tiny, tiny flathead. And then you can slide this in under, and I also lifted this piece up too. Oh, it's already clipped back in, but this piece lifts up. It's clipped in here, and there's some clips here, and this I just kind of pulled up here. You don't have to take this completely off, but it does help for sure to get that last clip, and I think it may be necessary. So now I'm here. So I'm gonna have to put some adhesive on here so that this all sits nicely. Now you may be able to get away with this without using adhesive if you're afraid of doing that. You may just be able to kind of squish it all in. But personally, I'm going to put some glue around here, and hopefully it all goes well. And then another thing is this button is going to have to come out, and I have not figured that out yet, but there's a clip there and a clip there, so I'm probably just going to go at it with the flathead screwdriver and get this button out. I'm not sure where exactly I'm going to hide that in the dash yet, but we'll see. So yeah, I'm going to get this all glued up tonight, and then tomorrow I'll get back out there and I'll wrap this up.